joins me via Skype from New York. Good to have you with us on the programme, sir. It seems that two rivals working together at the behest of the president. I mean, how much of this is for the greater good of the nation, and how much is it about the president saying, let's do it, and let's do it now?
I think it sends an important message that the pharmaceutical industry giants, titans like Merck and Johnson & Johnson, are willing to collaborate together to bring the vaccine to the masses. This really is a historic partnership in many ways. And I think it sends an important message, from the Biden administration as well, about the prioritization of making sure that we're going to reach the goal that President Biden stated in getting every American vaccinated. So I think it's very, very important, and I think it sends an important message.
Obviously, our correspondent there that you may have just heard, Kimberly, talking about capacity. What's in it really for Merck? Is it just about capacity, or is it really about working together, prestige, and for possibly long-term benefits in terms of their reputation of working together with Johnson & Johnson?
Yeah, I think that's certainly part of it. Merck has a long history of producing vaccines for mumps, measles, rubella. They obviously have Gardasil. They just recently, in 2019, got the approval by the FDA for the Ebola virus. So they have that history. They have that experience in vaccine production. Like the correspondent just mentioned, they were unable to get a COVID vaccine that was successfully launched and produced. So I think it keeps them in the game. It keeps them relevant to vaccine production. And I think that's important, right? From the perspective of Merck, from a legacy standpoint, historically, and looking back at the role they've played to try to, do their part in curbing the pandemic.
This partnership is certainly a game changer in the way the vaccine will be produced and delivered to the American public at large. But can you give our international audience an idea of what the situation is like right now, and what sort of impact this move is going to have in the weeks and months ahead?
So, by having this collaboration, we are in effect potentially going to double the amount of vaccines that are going to be available to the population. So not only are we going to be able to get to the U.S. population, but I think worldwide, because of the way in which the Johnson & Johnson vaccine can be delivered, a single shot does not require refrigeration. This is also going to mean that logistically, from a supply chain perspective, we're going to be able to get it out to international audiences. But I would say, in addition to that, what this also tells us is that the information that goes out to healthcare providers when it comes to educating them on the clinical trial data about the vaccines, whether it's Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, Pfizer, et cetera, that's also going to be important as well. Because remember, you have a lot of people, approximately, I think, based on the latest studies and a report I just saw from the New England Journal of Medicine, about 40% of the population is still hesitant to take the vaccine. So, you have production, right, as an issue. Collaboration is going to help, but you have information, the information that goes out to curb a lot of the anxiety and fear. And I think that's going to be critical as well, to make sure that people actually take the vaccine.
So very briefly, Mr. Soliman, what's President Biden, going to have to do in terms of fulfilling his wish, which is to try and get all Americans vaccinated by May, if there is a substantial number of Americans who, as you say, are unsure about taking the vaccine?
I think we're going to need to work hard to ensure that we have the trust of the American people. I think that's going to be very important. Coming on the heels of the opioid crisis in the United States, and of course the fact that the COVID vaccine was developed very quickly. Remember, the vaccine in general takes about 10 years to develop on average. COVID vaccine is developed very, very fast. So I think making sure that the American people feel that they can trust pharmaceutical industry processes, pharmaceutical industry guidelines, that they're complying with what's necessary, that's going to be very important.
Mr. Soliman, thanks very much for joining us on Al Jazeera and for staying with us from New York. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Now, the director of the FBI has told US senators there's no evidence to support